I'm Marcus Blake. I'm with That Nerd Show. This is Alex.
Hi.
So we are talking about the film Goodnight, Brooklyn, the story of Death by Audio. We're talking with Matthew Comboy and Amanda Schultz, Eden Wilbur, and Travis Johnson. Okay. And this is Amanda, right? Just so that we're all clear?
Got it.
Okay. Because there is no judgment with That Nerd Show. All right, so tell us a little bit about Goodnight, Brooklyn and this underground music scene. I mean, what brought you guys to this project?
Well,
The kind of, I was about to say, the movie kind of happened to us in a certain way. I started this music venue with a guy called Jason Amos in 2007 in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and then came to run it with Eden here for the preceding years, and then we found out that it was closing, and the circumstances of it closing were pretty, acrimonious or ironic.
Was it a similar situation like most music venues? Developers coming in, raising the rent, trying to push people out.
Well, it was, but it was more than that, and that actually made it almost that much more deserving of our attention to make a film out of it, because the circumstances that led to the venue closing were, I don't want to spoil the movie, but there's a very large company that spent a lot of time making a lot of money and a lot.
There were some bastards that didn't really care about the music scene that kind of wanted to ruin it.
That's your word.
Hey, I'll call like I see it. I'll tweet that out right now.
Whatever, but not whatever, but.
It seems to be a common tale. Here in Dallas, they deal with the same things. The Deep Ellum area is, it's a lot of music venues, but you've seen clubs come and go. You've seen clubs go and then reopen, and with new people trying to make it to survive. And
is Gypsy Tea Room open again now, or are they closed?
I think that's like a week-to-week thing.
Oh, wow.
Nice logo. Yeah. There you go. So anyway, basically you're chronicling this journey of how everything came about with this club and stuff. Talk about some of the bands that have come through. This underground music scene.
Oh, even that's.
Oh man, so many, ranging from the smallest band to much larger bands. But it was like we kind of got in on the ground floor. It was like I would hear, Matt would hear somebody, and it's just like, oh, let's get that guy in there. Let's see if we can do it. And we just hit him up, and they were like, yeah, sure, And now years and years later, they're big acts that play to thousands of people, and it's not every act that we ever booked, but sure there are the acts that the OCs or Future Islands that are now playing to huge audiences, and but we've known them forever, and it's we could call those guys up and just be like, hey, we're closing down, you guys want to come out and come one last time? And everybody was pretty much when do I need to be there? Let me know. So it was really good.
Even Ty Siegel he and his band were on tour in Europe, and they changed all of their flights so that they had a layover for 24 hours in New York on their way back to Los Angeles, just so they could play one last time at the audience. And it's and that's not something that we would ever even have asked of anybody.
Of course,
just
and I'm sure most of those bands lost money to come to those final shows. Even though they were packed and we paid them as much as we could, some bands drove 10, 12 hours, 16 hours. Just to come play one show and go back, not making it a tour or making it
Well, I think that's what makes, music venues more poignant. History making, if you will.
Yeah.
Is the fact that.
Well, I actually, not to interrupt you, but I think it's actually way more about community building, because the point that Eden was making, it's by having these relationships with artists before they're famous or before everyone else that kind of realizes how great they are, you've already developed this relationship with this person where they know and trust you, and they feel like that they're a part of something bigger than themselves in a non-commercial way, in a genuine, creative, community way, and that's a very, very rare thing these days.
Yeah, most of the bands that started, they were local. They are from New York and in the boroughs and all that, right?
In the movie?
Well, no, I'm talking about like the bands that played there.
Not necessarily. One of my first and foremost things when I was booking was to try and help a touring band first.
Right.
And then be like, okay, this touring band sounds like this. Oh, I know this local will go well. This guy can open. This lady can play in the middle or something.
Right.
And then you fill it up with locals, and then hopefully people meet. And there were tons of people that are working together now because they met at Death by Audio. Whether it was that somebody was at the show and liked the band, or whether a band played with another band and was just like, oh man, we complement each other well. Let's go on tour.
Did you guys get to the point where you had bands that had heard about you and were like, we have to play there?
Definitely, yeah, and bands that like reunited too. There's a band from Baltimore that was like a big, like pretty much only in Baltimore. It was really huge in like the early '90s. They were called Party of Helicopters, and I was just like, man, I really don't know this band that much, but like they want to do this reunion show and they want to do it at DBA, and I was like, well, can I ask you why? And they were like, oh yeah, we saw this other band playing there on YouTube and it looked really fun, so we wanted to do that too. Like,
but it's not even somebody was like saying anything. They're just like, that looks like a good time.
Yeah, they were just like on YouTube, like, okay, Death by Audio. I'll try to get in touch with those people and make that show happen.
Right. What's the biggest thing you always tried to make? I mean, with Death by Audio. Well, let me rephrase that question. What's the most intimate thing that you tried to do with the club? I mean, I think there's always.
Intimate?
Yeah. I think that with really great venues, there's always a certain intimate element. Like I'll use the Granada as an example here in Dallas as, it's still this small venue, you have your crowd that's kind of down the stage, but no matter where you sit, you're still sitting in a good place. It's not like really huge and stuff.
Yeah.
Was there certain kind of aspects like that about your club that really made it special?
I mean, yeah, I think the size and shape of the room, something about it, it was like a weird concrete hole with a drop ceiling that by all accounts should not have sounded that great, but the system we had in it put together and all elements came together, and I thought
not having a green room, not having a special place that the bands could like shield themselves from people if they, it's like it just felt like to people who were just at the shows, it just felt like
it wasn't exclusive.
It didn't feel exclusive.
It wasn't exclusive.
Yeah, and in that sense, I guess everything was intimate. Like you said, what was the most intimate thing? It's like all we did, everything we did.
It was just a room with things in it.
Now, did you guys try to fight the powers to be to stop the club from closing, or did you just kind of accept that this was going to happen?
I mean, we like tried to talk to people, but like basically it was just like, this is what's happening. Our landlords were apologetic, but they were like, dude, we bought this building to make money eventually one day, and now we have the chance to make the money. And I mean, they let us do whatever the hell we wanted for a decade, I mean? So it's like, we don't want to go, we wish we could fight, but basically, there was basically nothing we could do. We had like pretty much no recourse.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least they were honest, and it wasn't this long, drawn out like battle or anything.
No, of course not. I mean, that was not something we wanted in any way. More so, it was just like, all right, we're gonna put this baby to bed. Let's do it our way instead of it being a thing where we're fighting and maybe somebody makes the right call to the right person and gets us messed with. Just to be like, don't forget who we are, what we can do. Instead of going that route, I was just like, let's just make it about us. Let's have a fun time.
Now, I mean, I didn't know much about Death by Audio. I mean, we're not from the area and all that, but
everybody has a Death by Audio.
Exactly.
Or maybe
is this
everybody needs it.
You hit the nail on the head with that one. Every town needs that great music.
Can we get the tape from that?
Is this something that you guys would reopen or try to bring back, or?
I mean, I think we would, but it's also it's like the Brooklyn that we live in now, or that exists now, it's so different. And it makes like we already kind of weirdly won the lottery in a lot of ways.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, we don't want to chase what we had, because it's like and at this point, it was a big industrial nowhere place we were, and there are places further out that are like that, but now the cheap stuff is at the edge.
You don't feel like you can capture that magic again.
Well, but also it's butted up against families, like neighborhoods.
Okay.
That whereas if we go in there and start doing our thing, then it's like, oh yeah, well, artists are coming in this area. We'll let rent to the artist instead of the single mother family.
Right.
We'll push them farther out to Canarsie or whatever. And like I would feel awful if I were contributing even like an ounce to that.
All right, so we got 2 questions left for you, and then what I want to ask each one of you is, tell me your favorite band that you like and just enjoyed that played there. Something that really stands out for you.
I actually just came across an old photo of the OCs. I think maybe 2 months in to like my first experience with Death by Audio, and I took this perfect photo, and it was just like them rocking out, and like the ceiling tiles kind of like falling off just a little bit, and like packed and rocking out, and it was like there was like this moment of just feeling so intimate and so like just there and like disappearing, and it felt amazing.
Nice.
I would probably say the first time that Jeff the Brotherhood played at Death by Audio, because that was the first time that there was a band that in the venue space that we as a community like loved and pursued to like please come play here, like it felt like a coup. And then and like they played on the floor and like the PA broke, and it didn't even fucking matter. It was like one of the like best shows. It was very fulfilling for like.
How about you?
They're not my favorite band that played there, but my favorite show there was the Dirty Projectors in 2007 played with like 3 members. Normally there's like 2 guitars, bass, drums. This was just 1 guitar and 3 people singing. And they were on grates and through a little tiny amp. And they were up against they were standing up against the wall, like the stage was over there, and they were on the side of the room. And they were just kind of hugging the wall and doing that, and it sounded, no mics, sounded amazing. It was the kind of thing that can only happen in a place like that.
And no fans. I remember at one point
That was the hottest.
because it was so quiet, even the fans were messing it up. And I remember somebody plugged the fan back in at some point, and then
How about you?
I mean, that's a really tough question because it was like,
No one's
like,
seen more.
Yeah, like, and I curated like a lot of stuff, so it was like all of it was just like a really personal thing for me. The points to that, like I could say one thing was like the Rebel, Ben Wallers. He was in this band, the Country Teasers. Like we got to have a show with him, and it's like one of those guys that you're like, I'm never gonna see this guy. I would never meet this guy in a million years, and even be scared to meet somebody like that. That you like idolize, and you're like, oh man, this guy makes such weird drunken music. He's probably like a huge asshole. And then you meet the guy, and he's like the sweetest guy you've ever met. And you're just like, oh my god, like I was so afraid, but like now it's happened, and it's like, we'll meet again down the road, and he'll be like, oh man, we did that show together, and it's just like, what? You remember me? Like that kind of thing.
Well, this is our question for That Nerd Show that we ask everybody, because you guys are filmmakers, even though you run a music club. If you can be involved in either Star Trek or Star Wars, what would it be and why? And we'll start with you.
Well, Star Wars definitely. Why? I don't know. Why? Why not?
Adventure.
Yeah, that's true. I do like adventure. I just never got into the Trek as much. I guess that's probably
The Cantina Band would have rocked it.
Definitely. We would have totally booked the Cantina. No doubt.
How about you?
I guess I'd go Trek because I think that they're more interesting movies, and it had a show too, so you got hours and hours more. I don't know, The Wrath of Khan is just kind of a classic thing.
Absolutely.
Going Trek.
But the question was like, which universe would you want to live in, right?
Well, no. What would you be a part as a filmmaker? What
Movie? Because I thought you were asking where you want to live.
Yeah,
it's definitely the Trek universe.
yeah.
I'd want to live in the Trek universe. I think I still would want to make I feel like I'd rather make a Star Trek movie because I feel like there's a lot of like untold stories within that like universe.
Right.
That are probably pretty interesting.
You don't want to deal with Disney.
You know what? I'm going on record right now.
I would just say Star Wars. I don't know, just
So we're bookended here.
yeah.
The
This is Alex Moore on behalf of That Nerd Show, and we're here at the Oak Cliff Film Festival for 2016. And tonight, the big night for the film Goodnight, Brooklyn, the story of death by audio. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it gets everybody's attention for sure. So with me right now, the band A Place to Bury Strangers.
That's correct.
All right. I'm here with Oliver Ackerman, Dion Lunadon. Am I saying that right? Lunadon. And
Braswell.
okay. So right off the bat, let's talk about the film. How was your involvement in this, and what do you?
We were featured in the film. We played like the last night of the venue Death by Audio closing in that space. And Death by Audio was like my home, and I started this effects pedal company, which was called Death by Audio, before the venue or anything. And that was the warehouse and everything. That was like a collective of artists that I found in Brooklyn.
How did you come up with the name? Just for curiosity.
Well, at the time I was living where I didn't have a job for free in Virginia, and I wanted to go to Europe on this trip with a girlfriend, and it was coming up. It was like about a month away, and so I needed to make some money to go on this trip, and I had this idea for an effect that nobody had ever come out with before, and I just thought Death by Audio sounded like really cool, like kids would want to buy these things, and so I did that, and it worked out.
I guess it's not a bad way to go. Death by audio.
Yeah,
Die by kind of like death by chocolate. Death by
Exactly.
audio.
Yeah. Could be. There's
Not a terrible way to,
worse
not a terrible
ways
way
to
to
die.
go. Yes. So what about the rest of you? What was the experience like?
I was kind of involved in Oliver's band, A Place to Bury Strangers. So I came on a little later, to it, and was involved with that. Started playing a lot of shows there. We had like a little recording studio at the back. We would put our records, and I kind of got involved with just hanging out with the people shop people. We put on shows like Ethan and Matt and Travis.
Just seeing tons of awesome shows there too. It's such a
And
spot of
watching shows.
inspiration,
I sort of lived vicariously through it and the internet because I was all the way in Los Angeles for a long time. But watching all the clips and the footage and everything inspired me to like try to find that sort of community and music space everywhere that I went, from LA to New York, Nashville.
Did you anticipate that you'd be ending up on the exact opposite coast when you started out?
Not at all. Not at all. It was a totally random thing, but I remember going to New York just to visit and like passing by Death by Audio during the daytime because it was such a monument to me. Like it felt so important to know about that place. But yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit, see if we can talk a little bit more about this movie. What was the approach? Like, you spoke to the director, Matthew Conboy, and what was the dialogue about this?
I wasn't really involved too much in the movie, so I just kind of saw it happening. I've been involved with Matt, kind of like he's getting into making film, working in film, and I just think that he kind of wanted to document, and the Death by Audio in general and the feeling behind it. And he took it upon himself to put things together and capture it.
Yeah, it was just such a crazy important part of our lives, that whole space where we kind of lived and did all these things and recorded and played music and hung out with people and had our closest friends there, that when we found out that it was going to be ending, we just kind of tried to transform it into everything that you possibly could have wanted it to be ever in your life, because we knew that they were going to like level the building and just scrap everything that was in there and turn it into whatever they wanted. So, invited artists, people, and as many shows, to have the craziest shows we possibly could, and everything. And this was all happening right at the time of the documentary, so it was just like living the most insane month of your life ever, and it was pretty awesome.
The timing just kind of worked out to
It did, yeah.
create a perfect story.
It was kind of like, oh, hey, do you want to jump on this train? Yeah, there you go. So it just kind of happened. And then everything. It was, you know, when you just know that something crazy and special is going to happen. You just knew it. So Matt was just like, oh, obviously, this is going to be the craziest time of a lot of our lives. May as well turn on some cameras.
It was documented in many ways too. A lot of it was recorded, just audio-wise, and also photographed by a friend Edward, who's maybe in the film. I'm not sure. Probably, because she was there for the whole last night, every night.
So as this thing was kind of unfolding, this craziness that was going on, was there a particular artist or musician or band that you kind of thought of that reminded you of this, like a similar situation, and how they might have handled it, and how it inspired you to handle this?
I was inspired with the whole warehouse life of living in like Providence, Rhode Island, and seeing like Fourth Thunder and these places, Munch House and stuff, where they would just be the most insane things I've ever been to. And this, Death by Audio was just like a little chip off of the memory of my experiences of these kinds of things. It was like, there was really no law in Providence at the time, living there, and kids would take buildings that were probably toxic to live in and transform them into, spaces where you pull off trash off the streets and fill it with the buildings, and have bands that would light stuff on fire and drive cars through walls and do crazy things.
So, what about any other thoughts about this? I mean, how do you feel about tonight here at Oak Cliff, the film festival? It's kind of a different world over here, I think.
It is. It's really nice. I love Dallas, and I've never really been to Oak Cliff, so it's pretty cool to kind of be here on the street, and everyone's just so nice and friendly. It's really cool.
It's kind of cool to be acclaimed and being of this movie, obviously. I haven't even seen the movie yet, so it's like kind of exciting, and a lot of people that were involved in the movie are here tonight, so it's kind of brings it back,
Do any of you anticipate any moments where you'll see something that's like, I don't remember saying that, or anything to that degree?
Yeah, probably.
And just a quick question. I realized that we are in Texas, and so I mean, how do you feel about the heat as you were coming in, and how does this compare to being back in New York?
Yeah, it was great. It was
really
fantastic.
Okay.
It was pretty hot. We played a show yesterday where it was pretty much outdoors. We played actually both 2 days in a row, pretty much outdoors. And we get kind of crazy on stage and stuff, but to be in that heat.
Okay.
There's moments like Leah puked yesterday.